Hey everybody, welcome back. A little while ago I did a four-part series on multiply gyms and the fundamentals of them, how they operate, how the trainers affect them, and then I had a couple of episodes on whether you should use Sherry or Mosh, in my opinion, the two best of the multiply trainers, and whether you should use a zombie or Leo, in my opinion, the two best multiply coaches. And I mentioned in the fourth video that there's maybe a fifth video that I was going to do, and I'm glad I decided to go ahead and do it. So this video was initially supposed to be about all of the no longer relevant multiply gym damage coaches and trainers. And what I found out is some of these may actually still be relevant, depending on what you have on your roster and how your setup and build is, and certain very specific use cases. So, as always, don't trust me. Check everything on your own roster with your own cards and run them in matches themselves to try to figure everything out, or pull up the gym damage calculator. Link will be in description, along with a link to the playlist of my other multiply gym videos, um, and figure out which setup is going to be the best for you. Because I found out some pretty surprising stuff. Now, it's all very minor stuff, but it's all pretty surprising. Or some of it is still fairly surprising. So, I think in each one of the multiplied gym damage videos, I used HBK Shawn Michaels because he touches a lot of the bases of move damage, right? Base gym damage, and I've already got it preloaded. Base gym damage is 14,895 for blue, which is the only one we're going to be interested in. His moments add 200% color, all color gym damage plus 6 to multiply strengths. And this is actually supposed to be 16. I'll get to the total amount later. His strap is 100% strap. I'm not using Fury 3s. I probably should. And let's just go ahead. You probably should, but this strap only has takedowns on it. You know what? No, I'm going to change that around. I actually am going to pretend that I have a set of Fury 3s because that does change things tremendously. You know what? Let's at least do. No, we'll do it with Fury 3s because we're kind of transitioning over to Fury 3s anyway. And I hope this doesn't change too much of my calculations, but we'll find out here shortly. um, and then this metal right here is 45%. I have no substats. The plates, we're going to pretend that they both proc once. So I get 50% from the Pyro Princess Glove, 50% from the Heartstopper plate. Okay. Moveset, we're just going to run this all single MP, very common. And then Entourage, as I've got loaded up, is Sherry, Mosh, Zombie Gunther, who's not maxed out, and Afa. There we go. So this lines up over here, and we're going to make 8 random blue gems into multiplied gems of strength 10, add 6 for the moment, that brings us to 16. And we're going to destroy 8. For the purposes of this video, we're going to assume that the only gems that we destroy are multiplied gems, and every time we have more than 8 multiplied gems on the board, we're going to destroy them too, just for the sake of math. That's not what's going to actually happen in game, but I'm not interested in what's happening in game. I'm just interested in the numbers. Okay? So, likely to be no gameplay footage in this particular video. So, I want to start off with the trainers first. All right. And with the trainers first, there are several of them that we can choose from. But the one that I found to be the least effective of all of them, and this is a card that is absolutely no longer relevant because there is free stuff that is better, is Dexter. Dexter Loomis. He adds 45% more damage to multiply gems, which in theory should be great, right? The reason that Dexter is not great anymore, and frankly never was, is because Matt Hardy exists. Matt Hardy gives you +2. Multiply gems generated from moves will increase their strength by 2. So if we go over here and we add 45%, because that's the only part we're changing, is 60 to 105, and then our multiplied gem strength is actually going to be 12, we can see that we're going to do a hit of 11.2 million, assuming that all gems are broken and it's just those gems, okay? So we're at 11.2. What happens if we go to Matt Hardy, who we talked about, actually adds 2 strength? We'll have a hit of 12.4. Okay? So Matt Hardy is better than Dexter in almost every situation. You have to ramp up the multiply strength to an extraordinary amount in order to have Dexter do more damage than Matt Hardy, to a point that it's not even possible in the game. So it's a theoretical, and the number is probably very large. I was not able to find it in my testing. I know it exists because it exists when the zombies versus Leo debate, when I stumble over it there. So Dexter is a never use, unless he's the only thing that you have. Okay? But he's probably not the only thing that you have. Okay? So we talked about Matt Hardy. Let's talk about what I've found to be, I think, the second weakest is down here with Rowan. Now, Rowan's got some things going for him that's pretty nice. He can help you break more blue gems. I think it's blue moves that destroy gems will destroy extra gems. Here, we'll just do this. We'll go to his actual card. We'll take a look at his training ability. So if you max him out, multiplied gems do 75% more damage. This is why he's better than Dexter, and everybody got him just a couple of months ago. Max out his training ability. You don't even have to max it out. You just have to get him to 31k, and he's at 50% more damage. 50% more damage is better than 45% more damage. Okay, we can agree on that, right? Right, yeah. So Rowan is 1 tier up from Dexter. All right, and he does do some other stuff. Blue moves start with 2 more move points, and then blue moves that destroy gems will destroy 4 more gems. This is less relevant as the meta keeps progressing, but the blue moves start with 2 more move points is nice. Kind of. Stick a pin in that one, because you could do 75% more multiplied gem damage, or you could just add 2 multiplies to it. All right, so let's talk about Rowan versus Matt Hardy. All right, so at his max level, he does 75% more. So that would be a 135%. And we're doing multiplied gems of strength 12. Nothing else has changed. So we're at a hit of 11.7 million. If you just remember when we calculated it out, Matt Hardy does 12.4. Okay, so far we have Dexter as the weakest, followed by Rowan as the 1 step up from the bottom, which is wild because 75% looks like a big old number. And we value the zombies so much because they do 60% multiply. The problem is the trainer position is so stacked that there are better options than him. Okay. Here's another interesting one. Finn Balor is actually is better than Rowan. Let's find him in the Generate Gem section. Finn Balor is a card that before tonight I had not thought about in a very, very long time as far as a trainer is concerned. He was on somebody. Okay. Sure. So over here we've got the damage for Matt Hardy, which is 12.4 million, right? Let's adjust it for Demon Balor. Now Demon Balor, multiplied gems do 38% more damage, and the moves that generate multiplied gems will create one more multiplied gem. So he is instantly not useful for any cards that create an area of multiplied gems. All right. So if it says make it 2x1 or a 4x4 or a 7x7, it doesn't matter. The only thing Finn Balor will do is add 38% more damage, in which case he's worse than Dexter and you put him at the very bottom of the list. But say it's just create random amounts of multiplies like Shawn Michaels does. Now he's going to make 9 random blues. And like I said from the beginning, we are going to assume that we're breaking all of the multiplies, and that's it for the purposes of the numbers. So let's go over here. We're going to break 9 multiplies. They're all going to be strength 12. And our gym multiplied trainer is actually going to be 98%. That's a 12.5 million hit. That's 100,000 damage better than Matt Hardy. Now, I'm not going to say that Finn Balor is better than Matt Hardy because Finn Balor relies on you need to be able to throw out individual gems instead of area gems, where Matt Hardy can handle areas, and he works extremely well for that. So I'm going to put Matt right up on top of it. But then we run into, with Matt Hardy, what's an easy way to look for this one? Gem modifier. Yep. Now, the one section I will not be going over are these guys here. The multiplied gems increase by 1, and submission moves do 50% more damage per turn. This is such a weird split. Obviously, multiplied gems generated from moves will increase their strength by 1. Matt Hardy is better than that. Rowan is better than that. In many situations. Finn Balor is better than that because we've already done the math. Mosh is better than that because he adds 1. Sherry is better than that because she adds 4. And this means that you're using submission moves. So this is a hyper-specific trainer class. I don't remember the last time I used one, like, unironically. Legitimately. Because Matt Hardy exists. If I need this and I'm not using a sub-character, Matt Hardy exists. If you're using a sub-character and you're boosting their submission moves more than the multiplies, then you're just using it for the 50% boost, right? So I'm not talking about these guys. These guys are weirdos. I'm just going to leave them alone. But when it comes to Matt Hardy, this one too, man, this one's super weird. Pyro gems do 75% more damage, and multiplied gems increase strength by 1. That's a I don't understand that one. But this class right here, now you have an MP trainer and the multiplied gems. Or you could just put them on there for multiplied gems. So you don't even need Matt Hardy because you got these guys. And Liv was free. Lex was free. Who else in this run was free? Lex, Liv. And the rest of them have gotten pretty easy to obtain. They're probably up here because I have all but Nod Rock. So I've probably scrolled right by them. I don't know. Maybe it's just those two. They're easy to obtain. Anyway, there's 2 free cards. If you don't have Matt Hardy, you can just use them. Okay. From there, it's Mosh. And I made a whole video on who's better, Mosh or Sherry. It's just, it is what it is. Sometimes Sherry's better, sometimes Mosh is better. And in the case of HBK, you can run both of them. This is the best trainer setup that you can run. All right. So the list, just to go back over it, the worst multiply trainer that you can use is Dexter Lumis Striker. The second worst is Rowan. Of all things, that big 75% number I thought was going to be a little bit more impressive than what it actually was. Third best is Finn because he creates an additional multiply. Fourth best is Matt. And then you get into the +2 MPs, +2 multi run. Then you have Mosh, who's free himself. And then you have Sherry. Sherry and Mosh are the cream of the crop, so to speak. Okay. I think I'm missing one of the multiply gym trainers. Hang tight. Is it? It's the one I don't have. That was really old. Sin Cara or Callisto? It was Callisto, I think. Right? No. You know which one I'm talking about. It was Mosh without the +1 multiply. And everybody has Mosh, so you're not going to use the other one. All right. Cool. Surprising, right? At least it was to me. I figured Rowan would be a lot better trainer in that position than many of the other ones, and it turns out he's not. Now, there is an argument, much like the Zombie versus Leo argument, that Rowan gets better with the more stuff that you have on Shawn Michaels here. And I have not done extensive testing on that because this is a big old honking number. It would be 60, 130, whoops, 135%, right? Let's say we swap it out instead of Sherry here. So we would be 10, 6, 6, 12. Yeah, so we're still at 12. The way all of this works is the more of these that you have, the more... Sorry, I lost my complete train of thought there. Oh, right. The larger this number gets here, the multiply strength. So if we say it's 22, the multiply gems working are 8, right? That number goes up huge. Or if it was 60 and 26, adding Sherry back in, it's 23. That number gets a lot closer. All right. So the larger the multiply strengths are, the better the percentage trainers are. And 75 will close the gap quicker than 60 with the zombies. Cool. Cool. All right. But yeah, Dexter, Rowan, Finn Balor is underrated and will hit harder than Matt Hardy, but Matt Hardy can be used on all multiply gym types. The +2 MP and the +2 multiply gym types are the same as Matt Hardy, but they have better utility because they're +2 MP, and they were easier to get. I still think there are people out in the community that don't have Matt Hardy, but have Liv and Lex. And then Mosh, and then Sherry as 1A and 1B. Okay. Let me get reset here. So we're 16, we're breaking 8, we're 60, we've got AFA. Yep, everything is back to normal. All right, so over here, there's a smaller pool for these, and one of them is very clearly the worst, and barely even really worth talking about, and that's the Miz, Showboat Miz here. Multiply gems do 15% more damage. You've got zombies that do 60. All right, 60 is larger than 15. Miz has no use cases. And I would say that use Miz if Miz is the only thing you have. But Miz is not... Miz is an obtainable card, but he wasn't given away like Zombie Gunther and Zombie Chelsea. All right, so chances are you have one of those two zombies. Why would you use Miz? You're not going to use Miz. So that takes us to the other two. One of them is super popular. And I didn't have him for a long time, which is Mimrock. Multiply gems generated from moves will increase their strength by 1, and you'll catch an extra 5% multiply gem damage. So we replaced AFA in this scenario, right? So we take this percent trainer bonus down to 30. And we'll increase our gem multiply trainer to 65. Hold on. Let's look real quick. Let's go back up to 60. Our baseline is 14.2 million with AFA. All right. I'm writing that down so don't forget it. 14.2 with Ava. With Mimrock, we're going to change this to 65 because it's a 60 from Zombie Gunther plus 5 from Mimrock. And then we're going to take away the 30 from Ava. And the multiplier strengths go up to 17. That's a 14.5. So just slightly better. But it is technically better. Okay? So what happens if we put a random zombie in there? Let me change that to 120%. 14.7. Okay. And all of a sudden, Mimrock turns into the second worst multiply gem damage coach. Okay. The zombie, just a generic zombie, is better than Mimrock in almost every scenario with a normally set up card. Now, if you yank up here the metal type bonus, when I was doing test down or takedown testing, Mimrock and the zombie kind of broke even, and depending on the setup, the Mimrock was actually a little bit better. But you're not using a move damage card that focuses on multiply gems. You're using Fury 3s on cards that focus on multiply gems, which I should have been doing my testing that way in the first place. Shame on me. So the generic zombie is going to be better. Leo is going to be better because Seth Anardo does +3 multiplies instead of +1 multiply. And Howdy is better because he makes more multiplies and gets a 60% buff. He acts like a zombie and you get more multiply gems. So Mimrock is actually almost completely useless nowadays. There are very limited use cases for him, but very often that you're not going to run him. Now the last one is pretty interesting in that it might not be the worst idea in the world to use him every once in a while, depending on the card. And that's Zombie Taker. Zombie Taker, multiply gems do 5% more damage. Moves that generate multiply gems will create one more multi. All right, so let's get back to our baseline. 60% for Afa, 60% for Zombie, multiply gem strength 16. Our result is 14.2. So let's add one more multi broken. Let's add his 5% and then bring this back down. We're at 15.4. That's not bad. 15.4 is actually better than just adding a random zombie to it. Right? If we know that if we add a random zombie to it, we're going to do a hit of 14.7 million. And with a Zombie Taker, we're doing 15.4. So Zombie Taker is actually a little bit better. Now, Zombie Taker is limited in the same way that Finn Balor is limited, in that if it is random gems, you're fine. You're going to get an extra one. If it's an area create, like I said, 2x1, 4x4, 7x7, Zombie Taker isn't going to do anything for you but 5% extra multiplied gem damage. So that all just kind of goes away. Poof. Right? But if you're doing a random amount of multiplied gems, yeah, Zombie Taker is actually better than a regular zombie, provided that you break all of those multiplied gems. Let's look real quick at Leo, though. And I think we're going to find that Leo is better than Zombie Taker. So we bring this back down to 60. We're going to bring this up to 19. And we're going to multiply is broken at 8. And we're going to do 16.1 with Leo. Okay. Howdy, obviously, is significantly better. That goes to 16. This goes to 11. And this goes to 120. Yeah, it's 20.3 million hit. All right. So when it comes to coaches, it really is Howdy is almost always your best bet. Because Howdy will make more multiply gems and he will increase their damage by 60%. Making multiply gems is sometimes stronger than boosting the multiply gems that you already have. So Howdy is number one, and then Leo, and then zombies. And then Zombie Taker and then Mimrock and Miz. Okay, so Miz is the worst. Mimrock is the second worst. Zombie Taker, provisionally, is the third worst. Then you have zombies, especially your main color. Like, so with Shawn Michaels here, he does blue. Gunther is going to be the best zombie for him, but a generic zombie is better. Or is a little bit worse, sometimes equal to Leo, and then Howdy is absolutely the best. So I learned today, Zombie Taker's not useless. He has use cases. Same thing with Finn Balor. He has use cases as well. Every once in a while, if for some reason you can't use Sherry and Mosh, or if you don't have Sherry, say you had to use Sherry and Finn Balor, that would be, or Mosh and Finn Balor, something like that. There's ways around it. So when you're setting up your multiply cards, just keep that in mind, that Finn Balor and Zombie Taker may actually be a better setup for you if you can't put, for trainers, Sherry, Mosh, or for coaches, Zombie, Leo. And every once in a while, Z Taker is going to be better than a generic zombie in the first place. All right, I apologize. I got a little bit rambly there, and I didn't click the screen very much. I think I've just been talking more than anything else and running through the spreadsheet. Sorry about that. But yeah, this is probably the end of my Multiply Gem series, because I can't think of anything else that would be anywhere remotely worth a video on Multiply Gems. So if you've learned anything today, or if you've been entertained by anything today, do me a favor. Click the like button, click the subscribe button, share to your faction mates, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye.